We've been promised a massive and game-changing crypto week this week. And after a very long and tedious back and forth, and it even took a second trial, finally, the agreeing was considered amongst the House and representatives. And now the crypto legislation now is going to be voted on specifically. Right after that, then only after that, it's going to land on the table for the president then to finally sign it off and put it into effective law. So obviously, this is a very big win for the digital asset industry. It took a lot of efforts, as we're about to see in this article. However, that major step and hurdle through the House has been now finally passed. Let's look at this article just briefly of what it says. So the key points here are like the House advanced 3 cryptocurrency bills, and it aims to do so. The most important one is the structure bill, like we're about to see, but then also, of course, a very important one is stablecoin framework bill as well. And this is then going to go, like we said, to the president's desk for his signature. And now that the House finally approved it, right? And also what dragged everything in the process was literally the Republicans wanted to add, had to add the central CBDC bill in there as well, because they want to ensure that the government won't be able to issue a central bank digital currency. That was the key point that was dragging the passing between the Democrats and the Republicans. So we don't want to get into deep into this article, but just the takeaway out of this is that it took the president himself. He had to intervene literally to save this initiative, because if not, it would have struggled or not even gone through. So this obviously paved the way for the first federal law for digital assets. This is a major milestone. And like we said, this vote came after more than 9 hours of private talks, right? As the leaders worked to win over lawmakers, right? That was still skeptical, still at the sitting at the edge, and sitting on the sidelines, still not understanding what this all means. But now, finally, after 9 hours, it was waved through, and this is a major milestone for us. And according to experts and analysts, afternoon today, later on this afternoon, or even Friday, it should be passed. These laws should be passed. U.S. time, it should be passed, right? So why is this so critical? Why is this so important? Why are we discussing this in the first place? And I couldn't put it in a better I couldn't put it in better terms than this tweet right here, right? So just to put it in perspective, is that there are other congressmen and congresswomen, of course, that are pro crypto, and this individual literally says crypto market structure, that's one of the bills that are supposed to be passed through, will launch a golden age of innovation and digital assets. These are bold statements, and we're going to get to the bottom of this, right? But I have to say off the bat, this is exactly a fact. And let's tune in and just listen briefly to how he's elaborating on how he participated in the 1996 internet rollout, when the technology internet just came out in 1996. And he was there. He was part of it. And he's literally emphasizing that here we are again today, going through the same technological shift, with the blockchain now being the internet. And as we'll progress throughout this session, we'll realize that it's literally Ethereum specifically being the largest blockchain technology, that infrastructures are being built on to be a foundation for stable coins, real world assets, and just regular adoption of more efficient and use of this asset as a strategic reserve, as we will see. So what we aim to do in this video today is to just fact check, will the passing of these bills, the stablecoin bill, the structure bill, crypto market structure bill, will this really launch a golden age of innovation and digital assets? Will this really launch a multi-year bull cycle of prosperity? And this is exactly what we're about to look at. And at the end of this session, we should be able to answer this question with a clear yes. It's going to do just that. So let's just quickly tune in before we proceed to something else, to what he's saying.
But this is different. This is huge. Before I came to Congress, I was in the broadband industry, and the 1996 Telecom Act provided the regulatory certainty needed to launch the internet era. That was a watershed victory for this country, and my friends, we are here again. The regulatory certainty provided by this incredible bipartisan work product will launch a golden age of innovation and the golden age of digital assets. Today, now, this moment, this is a watershed victory for this country. Today, we do something real. And with that.
So this is exactly the point. It's like we discussed in previous community events, and we've been discussing this for years now. Blockchain is the solution to so many challenges, specifically to the current debt-driven monetary system. And specifically, even though Bitcoin maxis claim Bitcoin to be the solution to the challenge, and as we will see, it's a lot of Bitcoin miners are literally selling all their Bitcoins, their operation, shutting down their operations and moving over to Ethereum. We'll quickly realize that most don't understand how monetary system works. The current debt-driven monetary system, to stimulate the economy, you need to print more fiat. And if you print more fiat in a debt-driven monetary system, you're causing inflation. And you're also raising your debt ceiling more, and you're causing loss of purchasing power. You're literally devaluing your fiat. In the long term, that's not the solution. And this is why we are where we are today with the US dollar. So there is the solution. In order to purchase more strategic, if you do Bitcoin strategy, you have to do the same thing. Like in the debt-driven monetary system, you have to issue more, print more fiat to purchase, keep purchasing Bitcoin, for example, for Bitcoin strategy, and then it's a non-active, non-performing asset, right? So whenever you need to take profit from it, you have to literally sell it, right? And that's not what you need right now. You want something in your balance sheet that is increasing in value. However, you never have to sell it because it's literally an active asset, meaning you can stake it and it keeps giving you cash flow. However, it doesn't cause inflation. So that's the solution right in front of our faces. And this is exactly what this gentleman is trying to say. We are entering a new age of innovation and digital assets. And it's just like it was back in 1996 when he was working for a broadband company, our internet company, rolling out this technology. This is here we are today again. We are in a digital era, and the new internet has a name, and it's called Ethereum. And this is where infrastructures are built, as we're about to see. So that's the whole point. Let's proceed to another article. What I want us to see is that this goes beyond saying that yet today, July 17th, once more, another Bitcoin mining company known as BTC Digital is literally shifting focus to Ethereum. and has invested $6 million in financing Ethereum, literally purchasing Ethereum. Now, this is just yet another Bitcoin mining company that is literally changing focus. And this one is the smallest market cap company I've seen so far that is moving on to Ethereum, literally at 26 million market cap. And it announced today, Thursday, a strategic shift to adopt Ethereum as its core asset and operational foundation, moving away from its previous Bitcoin-focused approach. We all make mistakes. We all make mistakes, but we learn from them. We become smarter. We hit our heads and then we learn from it and then we do better. If you know better, you do better. Needless to say, that's what Bitcoin mining companies are doing. They didn't know any better. They were just copying whatever other people are doing. And then until they realized that it's not working for them, they need an active asset that is literally generating revenue. Because if you're a company, you need operational revenue, right? You need to operate. You have bills to pay. You have employees to pay. You have products to develop and research. How are you going to achieve that by just buying and holding? You need an active asset like Ethereum is, that literally, as it's increasing in value and increasing your balance sheet, it's also, you can stake it and it gives you a cash flow. And many Bitcoin miners are facing that challenge, that mining is getting more and more expensive and less lucrative, and they're running out of business. But if you just do the same with ETH, the more ETH you acquire, literally the more revenue you're receiving, because you're receiving passive income literally simply by staking Ethereum. And at the same time, your balance sheet is growing because as the value of Ethereum is growing as well. So that's the whole point. That's the takeaway I want us to understand from here, right? So let's now see that it's beyond just that. Yesterday, this article is from yesterday, July 16th. SharpLink. We are now familiar with SharpLink. They are because their founder is literally the co-founder of Ethereum, and also is the founder and CEO of Consensus, which is the parent company of MetaMask, which most of us are using MetaMask wallet. So here you look at the co-founder of Ethereum and the founder and CEO of Consensus, which developed MetaMask, right? Joseph Lubin. So he is the CEO also of this company known as SharpLink, and he's been also purchasing a bunch of Ethereum and using the Ethereum strategic reserve strategy, right? So this SharpLink company yesterday overtook Ethereum Foundation to be the largest corporate holder. So SharpLink obviously is another NASDAQ publicly traded company with roughly 2 billion market cap. We'll look at that in more detail later on. Now they're holding 280,000 Ethereum, worth roughly $840 million, right? And they became the largest one. They overtook the foundation, Ethereum Foundation itself. So like we said here, SharpLink Gaming overtook the Ethereum Foundation to become the largest corporate holder of Ethereum. Like we said, they now hold over 280,000 ETH, which is worth about 840 million, right? And also, this crypto treasury strategy plays are the latest trend. It's not just a trend, but it's really working for many companies. This is why more and more Bitcoin miners are moving from Bitcoin mining into Ethereum. So these public companies are now accumulating digital assets, like we say, like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And this is exactly what I want us to understand. And this is the takeaway from this. But this didn't last long. This didn't last long, because keep in mind, this was yesterday. Now let's look at what happened actually today. Today, Bitmine now holds $1 billion worth of Ethereum, and they surpassed the foundation as well. And they also surpassed yesterday's number one, SharpLink. And now Bitmine is the number one. So BitMine now holds 300,000, over 300,000 Ethereum worth 1 billion. So over 20,000 more ETH than SharpLink from yesterday. They're also eclipsing the Ethereum Foundation in terms of Ethereum holding. And this corporate accumulation raises new questions, right, about the influence over Ethereum's future direction. What we need to understand is that on July 17th, which is today, BitMine announced its Ethereum holdings had surpassed $1 billion, more than tripled. Actually, if you do the math right, it's not triple, but it's actually quadruple. So actually, they raised 250 million just a week ago. And now already they have 4 times more within a week. They're at $1 billion already. So they're really aggressively accumulating ETH and not just holding it, just not buy and hodl. No, they're literally staking it. They're staking Ethereum as well. And this is exactly how active assets are supposed to work. And this is the point of all of this. This is why these institutions are doing that. So they have an active asset. And what I want us to understand is that a for-profit miner now holds more ETH than the network's founding entity, which is Ethereum Foundation. This is not a small development, this article says. BitMine's chairman, which is Tom Lee, right, framed the move as part of a broader strategy to eventually stake 5% of all ETH in circulation. So they want to be even more aggressive and hold eventually 5%, not just hold, but stake 5% in Ethereum. And why do they want to stake it? It's because if we go back to this article, hopefully it's here, we'll see that they've been staking ETH and they actually received over 400 ETH for staking right here. So the company said it has earned 415 ETH, roughly 1.2 million at current prices through staking since its treasury pivot just in June. So within a month, they already earned passively 415 ETH. You can't do that mining Bitcoin, but you can do that just staking passively, just staking ETH, and you're earning 1.2 million within a month. And as a small company at barely 2 billion in market cap. So this is exactly what moves companies, corporations to adopt Ethereum strategy because it's an active asset. It's an active asset. And this is exactly what makes it so attractive. And if we come back to this article, we see that that's exactly what they're saying, right? So Ethereum marks a dramatic turn into origins. This is it, the milestone which BitMine reached by leaning into its new capital market strategy, cements its place as the largest publicly traded corporate holder of Ethereum and marks a dramatic turn from its origins as a Bitcoin mining operation. This is a big statement. They started early as Bitcoin mining company, and now they sold all their Bitcoins, shut down their Bitcoin mining operation, and now are the largest publicly traded company of Ethereum holder. This is a statement. This says it all. This says it all. There's really nothing else to add. And finally, I want us to also just look at this website here. It's called Strategic ETH Reserve. So this is a listing, like we said. You see BitMine, they're right here. They're now the #1 holders of Ethereum in terms of amount of Ethereum, over 300,000 Ethereum, worth 1 billion right now. And look at their market cap, just barely 2 billion market cap. So they still have a long way to reach. By the time they reach 100 billion, they can be listed on S&P 500. Once you're listed there, now investment funds are now will be now purchasing these stocks. Now, keep in mind, these are publicly traded companies. You can buy their stocks. Same with SharpLink. They have 280,000, which is worth 960 million. Also just at a 2 billion market cap. So they still have a huge way to go. And now Ethereum Foundation just a few days ago used to be the #1 holder of Ethereum, but now they are all already within 1 week. Bitmain already surpassed them so quickly. And these are just up and coming low market cap companies. So what if Apple starts this strategy? What if Microsoft, Google, and all these other large institutions and banks start accumulating Ethereum because they see the value of having an active asset that is literally generating revenue passively and also growing your balance sheet as well. So all these regulations that are coming in place are enabling institutions, financial institutions, to move and adopt strategies like this, adopt blockchain technology, and be part of this movement. Let's make a very straightforward example of how massive this is going to be. And let's really back, like we say, we want to fact check this statement that these bills being passed that are pro-crypto will launch the golden age of innovation and digital assets. Let's look at this just with one example. One of the largest markets, liquid assets, are the bond markets. And right now, they're the US Treasury markets. And what I want us to focus on right now is where are currently the most digital treasuries? Where are they launched on? Obviously, we know this. They are launched on Ethereum. And this chart shows us that 75% of all digital treasuries are literally on Ethereum. Just to make a statement, this is just treasuries. If we look at stable coins, which is the foreign exchange market, it's also on Ethereum, right? Roughly 60% is on Ethereum. If we look at commodities, these are all asset classes. Commodities, bond market, foreign exchange markets, those are the largest markets right now. And currently they're all on Ethereum, with the commodities being even 99% on Ethereum. But let's just focus on treasuries, just for the sake of time. Treasuries right now, tokenized treasuries are only 7.5 billion right now. And they're giving a 4% yield right now. And this is a very large market in the real world. But as far as tokenized treasuries, only at 7 billion. And what we need to take away from here is 75% of all these treasuries are on Ethereum. Let's understand that. Now that we understand that, let's look at how much liquidity is coming. So right now, as of 2024, the treasury market, the bond market, is at 141 trillion. 141 trillion. This is global bond market. And another thing I want us to understand is that the projection here is that by 2030, this market is going to jump by over 20 trillion, actually 25 trillion to 166 trillion. So it's an ever-growing market. So global bond market was valued at 141 trillion right in 2024, and it's expected to reach 166 trillion by 2030. So within the next 5 years, it's going to increase even more in 25 trillion more. That's how large this market is. Another fact I want us to look at to finish making this point is this. Out of that large bond market, US is the largest with 51 trillion. The US has the largest bond market globally. Now let's do the math. So US holds roughly 40% of all bond market is in the US. Almost 40%, 39% to be specific. So this 51, if you do the math and take 51 trillion, let's just focus on the US, and then 75% of that. Why 75%? Because currently that's the amount of treasuries, that's the amount of share of treasury, tokenized treasuries that are on Ethereum right now, 75%. So 75% of 51 trillion is 38 trillion. Now, let's do the math here. Let's look at something else. Let's keep in mind 38 trillion. Right now, let's look at what is the largest cryptocurrency right now. The largest cryptocurrency right now, obviously, is Bitcoin. And Bitcoin's market cap is 2.3 trillion after 15 years. 2.3 trillion. Now, we just saw that 75% of tokenized treasuries are on Ethereum, and the US alone has 51 trillion in the bond market, which represents 39% of global market share. So if 75% of that 51 trillion, which is 38 trillion, is tokenized on Ethereum, so imagine the boost Ethereum is getting ready to get just from the bond markets alone. It's literally going to flip Bitcoin in terms of market cap, in terms of liquidity, in terms of volume, in terms of blockchain activity. And once that happens, and keep in mind, this is we're just talking about treasuries. We're not talking about commodities. We're not talking about the foreign exchange, stable coins, which represents stable coin market, which is also coming, because keep in mind, these stablecoin issuers have to purchase bonds, US treasuries, and these treasuries are mainly issued by BlackRock. Let's look at that. If we go here, we see how number one issuer is Securitize, which is partnered with BlackRock. And right now they're dominating this market they have a market share of 38%, as you see here, right? 38% market share. And this is BULLRUN, issued by BlackRock, which currently is the largest tokenized treasury issuer. And they're the largest asset managers, meaning and also they've partnered with JP Morgan so that their clients can use these tokenized treasuries as collateral for JP Morgan's over-the-counter derivatives market. So everything is put in place, community, to work out. And this just means that a lot of volume, a lot of liquidity is getting ready to be flooding the markets. And Ethereum being the largest smart contract, being the largest smart contract blockchain, and also that's where the most tokenized treasuries are on, 75% of it. And also stablecoins, same thing. We're about to experience a bunch of liquidity entering the space. Right now, we're only at 7.5 billion in tokenized assets. We just saw that US alone has a bond market of 51 trillion, and 75% of that represent 38 trillion. So add 38 trillion right here on Ethereum, and look how much liquidity is getting ready to enter this space and how much volume. This is going to massively reshape the current state of the cryptocurrency. And once Ethereum manages to flip Bitcoin, and this is not just, oh, Steve is just talking and it's just, no, we just looked at treasuries alone, tokenized treasuries, and we just see these regulations being passed. Stablecoin regulations will bring demand for US treasuries, and there's 75% of tokenized treasuries are already on Ethereum. So imagine now all these stablecoin issuers purchasing US treasuries, and obviously they're going to purchase from BlackRock because BlackRock has the largest Bitcoin ETF, the largest Ethereum ETF. Naturally, they're also going to have the largest tokenized treasuries. This is why JP Morgan is partnering with them so that their clients can use these tokenized assets as collateral for JP Morgan's network, a tokenized collateral network also on Ethereum. So the point we're trying to make here, community, is that Ethereum is the new internet. It's the new layer of internet. And this is what this gentleman over here was trying to say, that he was part of the 1996 ushering in introduction of the internet when he was still working at a as an internet company. And now here we are again today, experiencing the same digital shift. And this internet now is also an asset that you can invest in. So it's not just that technology Ethereum is not just a technology, but it's an asset you can also invest in, you can stake and even earn yield. And the more liquid Ethereum becomes, the more stable it becomes. And the more liquid it becomes, the more transactions, the more deflationary it becomes. Now you have the perfect foundation for a stable asset, liquid asset, yield-bearing asset that is decentralized, neutral, doesn't belong to a specific region, geography, or a country. Now you have the perfect strategic reserve asset that is also a technology that the world can use, from retailers, nations, governments, the like. And that's the perfect strategic reserve strategy. And this is why you see all these companies are front running everyone else, accumulating Ethereum aggressively very early on, because they already understand what's coming. They already see that Ethereum is the new internet, digital internet of the future, and they're front running everyone else. So how does that benefit us as an industry? Of course, Ethereum being the largest smart contract blockchain, it represents majority of blockchains. Most applications are built on Ethereum. So this means that most applications, most cryptocurrencies are going to benefit massively from it. And once Ethereum manages to flip Bitcoin, it's not going to happen this cycle. It will take years. Because the more adaptation that comes in, the more applications are being built on Ethereum, the more stable coins are issued, tokenized treasuries are issued, the larger Ethereum is going to naturally overtake Bitcoin and flip it. And then once that happens, we won't have to wait for bull run to hit Bitcoin fast, but rather it will be the opposite. Ethereum will be dictating the pace and dominating the market. And with Ethereum being stable, liquid, and our preferred strategic reserve, it's going to be perfect now, not just for collateral, but also for strategic reserves for this depth-driven monetary system that we're in. So that's the message for today, community. And we could answer this question with a clear yes, that indeed this is a golden age that is kicking off, and we are very early on in this stage. On an industry level, Ethereum is going to lift all boats. Everyone is going to benefit. And on a community level, if we zoom in on our ecosystem, we're going to make the most of it, because we already have a focus to address the 4 challenges in this industry, which is inflation, lack of liquidity, unsustainable staking distributions, and the inefficient use of volume. We are addressing all those 4 challenges. So our ecosystem is going to benefit even more from it, from all this run, in addition to just being part of the Ethereum ecosystem. Community, this is it for today. I hope this message came across well. And like we always say, these are not financial advice. It's simply our opinions. And it's the purpose of all of this is to inform, educate, and inspire. With that said, I wish you all a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week. Till we hear from each other again, I wish you all a wonderful day. Stay healthy, stay safe. Bye-bye, everyone.